Welcome to the Metal Voice. Today on the show, the one, the only Mr. Joe Lynn Turner. What's going on, Joe?
Hey, Jimmy. It's all good, man. How are you?
Great, great. I would love to have 3 hours with you, by the way. I think I'm trying to condense everything here, just so you know, okay?
Okay, yeah, we'll try to do our best.
Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, you did 3 albums with them. Can you tell me about what was it like working with Ritchie Blackmore in creating those 3 albums that everybody knows today?
Well, it wasn't as difficult as he's supposed to be, at least back then anyway. I mean, there were moments, but it was pretty good. Ritchie just demands respect, and he demands perfection, and if you try to achieve that, I think you've got it made. And that's basically what we both shared, was we wanted the best that we could both do in our efforts. So when he saw I was working very hard to do it, and he was working hard, we had a nice camaraderie, I would say.
He came in on Difficult to Cure. Graham Bonnet, which I've interviewed many, many times, you know, he left the band at that. I mean, what was that transition like on Difficult to Cure?
Well, I guess it kind of happened suddenly for him, because I was called in to do an audition in the studio, and right then and there they came in and said I had the job. So they erased Graham's tracks, and I started putting mine down, and you know, I didn't really ask too many questions at that point or anything like that. I just said, hey, you know, they're in control, they know what they're doing, and I needed the gig, so the rest is history.
You had a hit with I Surrender, and then Stone, you know, in the UK, then Stone Cold, you know, on the next album, Straight Between the Eyes, and then Bent Out of Shape, Street of Dreams, and you know, living in Canada, it was all over the radio. This, you know, this is what they're after, right? The American market, and they achieved that. I mean, how did it feel, you know, to suddenly get this massive hit?
Well, it was unbelievable, because we knew we had something. We knew the songs were there. And this is exactly what Ritchie was going for. You know, he wanted to leave the Dio era, with all respect, because I love Ronnie and what he does and his work, and we were great friends. But he wanted to leave the Dio era and become more commercial in that sense. I think the word commercial is got a dirty connotation, because what we like to say is accessible music, where hordes and hordes of people can actually digest it and understand it better, instead of a selective audience. So we accomplished that fact, and it was incredible, because we played bigger shows than ever before. We sold more records than ever before, and even internationally it caught on very well. And in those days, you know, all the bands like Def Leppard and so on, they were all coming up as well, very commercially, quote unquote, and we just filled in those ranks. So it was explosive.
And there you go. So you had the biggest hit probably in Rainbow's career, right, at that time.
Right. That's right.
And then Ritchie, you know, how did he approach you to tell you, hey, Joe, we're reforming with Deep Purple? I mean, what happened? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, it was after a Japanese tour, and I was already signed to Elektra Records to do a solo record. But the deal was that we were supposed to come back together to finish off what we started with Rainbow. Although that never really happened, unfortunately. But I knew about it. I knew about it as soon as it happened. I always felt a bit responsible in a way for helping Deep Purple get back together, because I was completely relaxed about the whole thing. Never put up a fuss or anything. I was on my way with Elektra to do a solo record, and it was quite exciting. So there was no problem at all when it happened, really.
And fast forward to today with Rainbow. I mean, I know everyone's been asking you this question about the reformation of Rainbow. And you know what? The strange thing about it is they released 2 songs, right? I Surrender, which is a re-record, right? From your period, and an instrumental. I mean, what do you make out of all this? Like, why couldn't they release something absolutely new? I mean, what do you think about these 2 new songs that they released?
Well, you tell me. I mean, I'm scratching my head too. I'm like going, well, what? I mean, I don't really like to talk about it, because I really do wish them well.
Sure.
But you tell me, because it just doesn't seem like a real band or anything like that. It just sounds like. So that's about all I could say. I think people make up their own opinions about it.
I don't know, I was kind of like excited to see that there was going to be a reunion. And then when I found out that Graham, you were not even included in this reunion, I was kind of shocked. I mean, why have a reunion with a cover band, right? That's how I thought.
That's what I think everybody thinks. And you answered your own question, really. And that's actually it. So I don't know. You know, it's kind of sad. That's all. But I wish him good luck.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, whatever he wants to do. You know, I mean, it's just it's not Rainbow to me.
His comment was, which I found even more bizarre, and I don't know if you want to answer this question or not. He said that I thought European fans wanted to hear the Dio lineup of Rainbow. I guess he thought you couldn't pull off the Dio style, right? Not to say that one's better than the other, but you couldn't pull off the Dio style, which I find absurd too. Any thoughts on that?
Absurd. Well, that's absurd, vocally speaking, because I do sing Ronnie songs. And not only that, but why would he cover I Surrender?
Yeah.
Want to put that together? Figure that out. Doesn't make sense.
And I know you had some talks with him prior, right? And you thought it would come to fruition, that Rainbow version with you, right? How did those talks, how did they fall apart?
Well, it was with management. And to make a very long story short, because it's very boring, but they changed their mind about the whole thing, and that was it. It was, surprising, really. But they just shifted gears and went the other way, and now you see the result of it. And in my opinion, I look around and see not many people are very happy with it. So I guess that's the end result.
Now going back in time, you were with Rainbow. Richie went off to, with Deep Purple. Years later, you get a call from Yngwie. How did that come about?
That actually was arranged through Polygram Records. They wanted me to do with Yngwie what I had done with Rainbow. And I pretty much did that on the Odyssey record. It was still aggressive and brilliant music and very accessible, or commercial, as you would say. We had a huge hit with Heaven Tonight. And it actually launched Yngwie's career. I thought we did our best work together on that record. It's a brilliant record, still stands up to this day. So that came through the record company when they just said, hey, you can write, and that's what this guy needs. You need somebody that can actually write songs. And I said, yeah, he does. And went out to see Yngwie and stuff, and we hooked it up. And, and the rest is really history. I think it's his best work, and some of mine as well.
And what was it like in the studio? Okay, with Yngwie, was he back then? Now we're talking. Was he as difficult to work with? Was he arrogant? I mean, what was his personality like, or working relationship like?
Well, I think it was pretty much the same. Yeah, he's a control freak. So to make a long story short, he just never has changed or grown from that, I think. And I just pushed through. I had already dealt with Richie's difficulties, shall we say, and I was pretty seasoned. So I knew how to get around some of those things. And again, the way to get around it is to prove yourself and to write great songs on top of his wonderful tracks. So it all came to fruition. He couldn't deny it. And then after the record, he started denying things. Like, he's writing all the material, which is absolutely ridiculous because anybody can hear that that it was me. So it's kind of strange, weird, but the record remains, in truth, shall we say, the record remains. It speaks volumes.
So who was more difficult to work with, in your opinion, Blackmore or Yngwie back then?
They both had similar traits, and so that seems like an old question that everybody asks. And I'd have to say, in some respects, Richie, in some respects, Yngwie, but both are difficult in their own way.
And, okay, now, this is the comment everybody's been, looking at on the internet. Yngwie's response, and I found it kind of shocking. That's why I sort of asked you to do this interview. To me, the singer is anything else than a different than a bass player, a keyboard player. They're not more important than any other musicians, and they unfortunately seem to think that they are. and I've kind of had it with their sort of self-absorbed sort of way. And I'm not very much against it. No, I don't like that. I don't like any of these people, and I don't like to do anything with them ever again. And that was in Metal Wanny, and is also in Blabbermouth and all the rest of the news. I mean, I know you responded to that saying he's insecure, but I mean, what else? I mean, just why is he insecure?
It's a good question, because it's very obvious that in order to, by saying what he said, which is totally rubbish, really, I mean, come on, you have to be making a point for something to aggrandize his own self. That's why he's singing, and he's got a terrible voice. So, I mean, what's the point of saying that when he really benefited by all the singers? So the fact of insecurity is that when you need to say something like that, you're trying to justify something that really does not exist, which means that you're weak in some department, in some area, where you try to say, it would be me saying, like, I didn't need these guitar players. You know, are you kidding? You know, what are you saying? It's a team, and there's no I in team. So he says he doesn't want to, you know, after the fact, he says he doesn't need the singers and that we're all self-absorbed, which is absolutely ridiculous coming from him. There's no one more self-absorbed than Yngwie Malmsteen. No one. So the whole statement is ridiculous. And that isn't, you don't strike out at these vocalists, you know, in that manner, unless you are insecure about something. You know, you're insecure about the future and why I'm singing and not them. Come on, you know, his egoism is worldwide. You know.
Can you think of one quick little story where it sort of displays his sort of arrogance towards you or to other singers?
Again, his statement speaks volumes. So there are so many incidents that I could speak about with him, but it doesn't matter because it all comes down to what he just recently said and all of our responses, that it's ridiculous, laughable. And that's it. So, you know, I wouldn't belabor it anymore because it's a boring and useless issue.
Can you tell me what you're doing next? Tours, new albums. Tell me what you're up to.
Right. Very good. Well, right now I'm going to be leaving the end of August and starting about a 4-month tour worldwide. Ending up in Australia for a month down there with Bobby Kimball. Then I come back. I've got a couple of weeks off, and then we start again. So it's going to be a long road this year. It's great to have the work. And I'm also recording new creative material. I'm bridging the gap between classic rock and industrial metal. And I'm doing this with a pretty high-profile producer, artist out of Sweden, and it's coming out great. So I think people are going to be surprised at that. I'll probably do another Sunstorm for Frontiers because they feel it's a very successful project. And so there's recording, you know, a couple of albums in between. And it's going to be a very busy year.
When can we expect a new album?
Well, that depends. You know, everybody's got schedules. We got schedules. We're supposed to be coming up with about another 4 to 6 tracks very soon, and then we'll start chopping it. And you know, there's a long process between then and once the record company gets it, starts to put it out and things like that. So I would hope 2018, towards the fall.
And as a last question, what does the set consist of? Is it just like the greatest hits of Joe Lynn Turner when you're on tour this in August?
Well, at this point, we'll be doing some of my Purple stuff, Rainbow stuff, and a few solo things kicked in. There's so much material from my career that it's really hard to please everybody all the time. Because if I start to do all the Rainbow stuff, they scream that I'm not doing enough solo stuff. If I do the solo stuff, they scream I'm not doing any Rainbow. So I try to mix it up a little bit and just bring out basic pieces of my career. Some people even wanted me to do some Fandango music, so that's it starts to get a little bit crazy personally, because you can't satisfy everyone. But I know that the shows that we do is chock full of great stuff, and everybody leaves happy, and satisfied.
Thank you very much, Joe. Have yourself a wonderful day, okay?
And you too, Jimmy. All the best.
Goodbye.